Lee Sandstead here with Pro 13 Cycling Coaching, ready to drop some truth bombs today, baby. The endurance, the lost zone, as I call it. The endurance zone is, to me as a coach, for my clients and for myself, is one of the most interesting and fascinating zones that it's out there. It's not used, it's misused, it's misunderstood. So let's just jump in here and see what we got to talk about today. So to really understand the endurance zone, let's look at this chart, which comes from Andrew Coggin's Training and Racing Using a Power Meter and Introduction from 2003. These are the expected physiological performance adaptations resulting from training at certain levels, right? So we're looking here at zone 1. What do we see? Not a lot. So there are things going on, right? If you do zone 1, you are going to get certain circulation. This is the zone. You're going to have good conversations with people. So there are good things that can happen in zone 1. You're not breathing hard. You're not sweating. You don't really have an elevated heart rate. Zone 2, as we can see, this is where the adaptations start to occur. This is where the secret sauce really happens. Zone 1, not a lot of physiological adaptation. Zone 2, a lot of physiological adaptation starts to occur. Zone 2 is when you start stimulating the slow twitch muscle fibers to the fullest, and the exercise intensity when you oxidize the highest amount of fat. Inigo San Millan. So this is the coach of today, Pogačar. He is a professor at the University of Colorado at Boulder, long-time physiologist, sports scientist, in the lab, looking at blood, looking how everything works, and he loves zone 2. So here's the problem. When we get clients from other coaches, other coaching companies, it just doesn't matter. New clients, we have this problem. I love to go back and look at their data. It's one of the first things I do. How are they training? Okay. So here is 180 days, and this is this cyclist time and zone. So first thing I do is I want to verify the data. I want to make sure that it's clean data, that it's accurate data, the zones are set correctly, all that great stuff. For this particular athlete, we go through the whole thing, the whole process. Yes, everything was good. So he comes to me. He's a time trialist. He has big things that he wants to do. Where are his time in zones? Where is he spending most of his training time for the last 180 days? He is spending it in zone 1. So let's look back at this chart. What happens in zone 1? Not a lot. What needs to happen is that we need to move all that time in zone 1 over to zone 2. So I start to go back. I look at his various workouts, okay? And so let's look at this. This was a prescribed endurance workout there, and this is a very common workout in training plans. The endurance zone is often prescribed, but this person, the athlete, didn't hit the prescribed numbers, right? So right here, where does he spend most of his time? In the active recovery, in zone 1. Let's look at this workout that he did here. Here's another case where we see examples of people hitting or missing the zone 2 and actually spending too much time in zone 1, okay? So the first is just a straight up example of an endurance workout where the athlete reads in his mind easy and then just goes out for an easy workout, all right? So just a straight up flat workout. Athletes often miss that. They go too easy. Now, here's another example. So we have many athletes, and the athletes do an amazing job of hitting the tops of the peaks, the tops of their intervals, but when you come down here in the valleys, they often go too easy. So one of the things that I'm working with this athlete is that we're continuing to nail the tops of the interval, but we're also starting to slowly bring up these valleys, okay? So that's 10 minutes right there. That's basically in zone 1 that we need to bring up. Let's bring that up to zone 2. All right, so here's after working with this athlete for a while, we see that we have the structured workout in there and that he nails this workout. He's on a very rolling course, but yet he's very smooth now and he nails this. Even this huge climb, even the descent, everything is just as smooth as can be. And we have this tempo bump right here, which accounts for more time in zone 2. So this is a great tempo endurance workout. It's a very common type of workout. Here's another one. So look at these intervals, right? Here's a great example where he nailed it right here, but then he nails the valleys. He nails the peaks, he nails the valleys, and he gets under sort of this magic percentage of time and zone. You know, anything under 25% or around there is pretty good, right? He nails the numbers of the intended workout. So basically, we went from this, where he's spending the majority of all of his workout types in zone 1, and we moved him over here to zone 2. Now, this is that athlete once again, and here is a great slide that was given to me of a professional cyclist riding in the hills. Look at the professional cyclist, time and zone. This was their last 180 days, and look where they are. Zone 2. They're nailing their zone 2. Now, the endurance, it's hard, people. It's hard, right? I've gone on a 3-hour endurance ride and I've failed. I've not been able to hit an quote unquote easy ride, right? But I've developed sort of some tricks of the trade. One, use a power meter. Plain and simple. You can, once you dial in your zones, you can dial in that endurance zone. Then you can pace that endurance zone, okay? So one of the biggest things is don't go too hard, don't go too easy. Don't accumulate data just as flyover country, going from tempo to, from active recovery to tempo and back and forth. Actually pace a endurance ride, which is not as easy as it sounds. Make sure your zones are dialed correctly. Route selection is key, and sometimes it's really boring, okay? So if you live in the mountains like I do, you can be going up, you can be going down. You can be going up, you can be going down. So what do you need to do? You need to find the flattest route. Around here where I live in Bedford, Virginia, these mountains, there's one 8-mile road that I just keep going back and forth on when I do an endurance ride. Next, push on the descents. Now this is crucial. You can speed up your cadence, but make sure that whatever you're doing, you're pushing on those descents, right? You have power, you're going down. Keep going. Endurance up the climbs, all right? So in America, people like to go too hard up the climbs, too easy on the descents. Keep going too hard, too easy, too hard, too easy. Really level out that power. And once again, you're actually pacing. Push on the brakes, okay? So say if you're spinning out your gearing on the descent, pull on those brakes and push your power into the brakes. And so I do this all the time. I ride my brakes down descents so that I can nail my endurance zone. Make sure you have the right gearing, right? If you're going around your area and you have these huge climbs and that's all the road that you can do, but you have to go over FTP to get up those climbs, then you need to please explore new gearing. Put a bigger cog on the back, put smaller rings on the front, okay? Make sure that you have the gearing so that you can do this crucial zone. Nail your shifting. This is really important, right? You want to pre-shift, right? You don't want to get clunked up on a climb with your gearing. You want pre-shift, nail that, make a smooth transition from the flat to the roller. Never stop pedaling, right? Look at me in my eyes. Never stop pedaling. Keep pedaling. Uphill, downhill, over the top of rollers, on the ascents, on the descents. Just keep going. Oh, wow. So talk test. This is a great one, okay? So the person, a great influencer on my coaching and my training is coach of coaches, Tim Cusick. He likes to tell this story. Like, how do you know that you're in the endurance zone? Do a talk test. If you can take a breath and exhale, and in that exhale, say the entire alphabet, all of your ABCs in one breath, then you're in the endurance zone. If you can't, you're going too hard. If it's too easy, if you can say the ABCs and you can say the ABCs again in one breath, then you're going way too easy, okay? So the talk test is a great way. Oh yeah, turn off ERG mode. ERG mode is a big no for learning to pace, right? So we're going into base, we're going into winter, we're going into fall, we're going into trainers. ERG mode is just an amazing thing for a lot of you, but I have my clients turn it off. Pedaling down descents, pedaling over the top of rollers is a volitional choice. You have to tell yourself repeatedly to do this. So ERG mode takes that choice away because you just have to keep pedaling, right? You take that off, take that away, turn it off, and you have to tell yourself to pedal just like out on the road. So that's a very big one for me. And then the biggest one, avoid group rides, okay? So go to a group ride, show up, say, hey, everybody, how are you? I got to go ride really easy, but not too easy for the next hour and a half, okay? That's a great one to do. Now, got to end on a big success story. So that's, endurance, that's how it works. It's a crucial part of your training. So many people are training. I myself in training in past years, even being coached by some really powerful coaches, I was missing out on the endurance zone. I can go back a couple years when I was coached and I can look at workout after workout after workout. I'm missing the endurance zone. The coach says, do endurance, but I'm not doing it, okay? Here's a great ride. I had the ride of my life this season, and it's all because of the endurance. I actually did a test. I let my FTP fall to the lowest it's pretty much ever been this time of the season, but I just kept hammering my endurance, hammering it over and over and over again. And while my FTP fell, my endurance zone actually got stronger. So here's a 4.5-hour effort, and I paced this thing for an average of 215 watts. Here, this was a group ride, so my watts are kind of all over the place. The group left, and then I paced this climb just as best as I could. I handled this descent as best as I could. I spun out a lot, just didn't have the gearing. Then I controlled all of these rollers as best as I could, and then these last 40 miles, I was by myself. I was second in the race on the day. I'm chasing this other guy, and it's just as smooth as can be for 40 miles. I just nailed it. And then this was the data for my this was my time in zones for the end of the day. So basically, give me a call, right? Contact information right here. Send me an email, lee@pro13.com. I want to talk to you. Look at your data. Are you spending too much time in zone 1? Do you want to get into zone 2? It's actually a pretty hard thing to do, and I want to help you. To me, it's the most problematic zone there is. If I tell a client to go out and do tempo intervals, bam, they're going to nail tempo intervals. If I tell them to go do FTP threshold intervals, boom. If I tell them to go do sweet spot, boom. If I go to tell them to do an endurance ride, oops, they missed it. Hey, Lee Sandstead here, and I want to help you dial in your endurance zone. Take care, everybody.